So, Miro, it has been a crazy, awful week for the stock market with major declines. Can you tell us what are the contributors to this major plunge?
You know, it's been an extraordinarily volatile week, and there's a lot of factors, and some of them we've repeated over time. We know that the interest rates are impacting business. The Federal Reserve is looking to increase the rates in a couple of weeks by 1/4 of a point, which means more borrowing costs for consumers and for businesses. We know, in particular, this past weekend at the G20 summit, the president indicated some big changes, positive changes in the trade war against China, that we were going to not raise tariff rates for 90 days. The Chinese were going to bring in much more agricultural imports and potentially reduce tariffs on autos. And then from that moment on, the president's advisors have had conflicting agreements or comments. And so the stock market really reacted because we really don't have an agreement. So the Chinese tariff war is a major issue. The president then threatened to pull out of NAFTA, and that means that Congress only has 6 months to approve the brand new U.S., Mexico, Canada agreement. And there's a lot of issues in Congress right now. Yesterday, the CFO of Huawei, a big Chinese company, was arrested in Canada because the U.S. required this. And so what's occurring is now the Chinese are going to be pressured not to really give in, make a lot of concessions during this because they need to get this resolved because it's a big black eye for China. And then on top of that, the president still hasn't resolved the aluminum and steel tariffs that he's imposed for several months from all countries around the world. And everything that uses aluminum and steel, the prices are going up. So consumers and businesses are really concerned. It's disrupting the supply chain. It's causing a lot of volatility. And there isn't really any answers in sight.
So as a result, are all stocks across the board hurting, or are some faring better than others?
You know, for the most part, most stocks have been impacted negatively. Some of the stocks that have impacted very, very negatively are technology stocks like Amazon and Google and Netflix, and those stocks. Bank stocks have been crushed because of the interest rate issues. And then a lot of companies around the world that rely on a global supply chain and global consumers have been impacted. So there's not a lot of refuge right now for investors. The best thing at the moment is to kind of hold and don't do panic selling, and that's what investment advisors will probably tell you.
So after that terrible news, we'll move on to better news for consumers and for SDG&E ratepayers. The company announced this week a proposal to do away with the high usage surcharge. What can you tell me about that proposal?
Well, it's interesting because the high usage surcharge was actually implemented by the California Public Utilities Commission in November of 2017. And the goal was really to encourage energy conservation. So if you use more than 4 times your energy allotment based on what you use in a house, you'd get this surcharge, which is double the kilowatt hour rate that you pay. And we already pay the highest electricity rates in the country, in California and in San Diego in particular. So this summer was the hottest, August was the hottest month on record. A lot of consumers use their air conditioning. Many of them cross this high usage charge threshold. Over 100,000 households saw their electric bills rise from $30 and above. Some people hundreds of dollars. So a lot of people complained, and SDG&E listened because it's almost 8% of their total customer base. And so SDG&E wrote a letter to the CPUC and said, hey, we'd like to remove this because it's really impacting our consumers. It's a great PR play. But if the CPUC says no, SDG&E does have some options. They can actually we pay a different rate in the summer over the fall, so they can reduce the summer rate and increase the fall rate, so then we don't pay as much in the summer. Ratepayers actually get a climate credit, one in April, one in October. SDG&E can move that in August to offset that for high usage. And at the end of the day, SDG&E can actually increase our baseline, so no household will be impacted by the high usage rate. So there's some things that SDG&E can do once we get a ruling from the CPUC.
So it's a wait and see.
Wait and see.
Mira Kopik, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.